I love that nowadays we actually get to see a lot of the niche Japanese titles making it over to North America, and there's a new one out called Utawarerumono Mask of Deception available on PS4 and Vita. But is this one that's worthy of being brought over from Japan, or is it just a deceptive disaster? Utawarerumono Mask of Deception is actually the second game in the series, with the original being on PC and PS2 back in the early 2000s. The games would go on to bring out a manga, an anime series, OVA, and a few different adaptations throughout the course of the years. And this is the first game, though, to make it over to North America. The game is a visual novel with a strategy RPG element, so that means there's going to be a lot of dialogue and text between the characters to tell the story as you're progressing through, eventually culminating with a battle at the end of each of the chapters. I won't spoil too much about the story, but it revolves around the character of Haku, who wakes up in a forest with amnesia. He ends up being saved by a girl named Kuon, eventually meeting her sisters and other characters that come into the mix, him gaining back some of his powers and memory, and eventually culminating with him fighting off against an evil. The game story is well told, though all the voice acting is in the original Japanese. Of course, all the text that you'll be able to read is in English, so keep that in mind. If you're somebody who prefers English voice acting, that's not included here. There's also a variety, though, options in the options menu for you to speed up the dialogue overall. You can set it to auto, so once one set of text goes by, after a little bit, it'll automatically go to the next set, so you don't have to really press buttons during the visual novel part of the game for the most part, as well as being able to speed up the overall battles, increasing the movement of the characters and lessening the amount of animations that you have to watch. The tactical RPG system in the game is a decent enough one. It's not overly complicated, so those who are more novice at the genre will be able to eventually get the hang of things. And there's a bunch of tutorials, and you can always look up stuff in the glossary to get more information if there's concepts involved in the game that you don't quite end up understanding. The battles are done from a grid-like perspective with a top-down view for the most part, though sometimes I feel it's a little bit too close to the characters, though you are able to move a cursor around to see the entire battlefield and get an idea of what exactly is going on in each of the fights. You select which characters you want to use in a particular battle, and depending on the fight, you can use less or more characters. Once the battle begins, you're then of course moving and attacking the various enemies. During the battles, you and the enemies have a set turn order. You always know what the turn order is, but it's not one of those systems where you get to move all your characters first and then they get to go. It's just an alternating between them, so you have to pay attention to who's about to go next so you can set up accordingly. A big part of the battle system is the combo system that is set up via the Zeal. Zeal is basically points that you earn for moving your characters around. Some characters get a boost of it right away at the beginning of a turn. It can even boost the Zeal of other characters, and this allows you to pull off the more advanced maneuvers, as well as being able to pull off combos against your opponent. You can have the combo set to manual, where you have to actually do a button press system, a little bit similar to the Legend of Dragoon, or you can have that automatically set so that it just goes through each of the chain combos, so you don't have to worry too much about it. As you go through the story and level up your characters, you'll gain new parts to the chain combos, eventually culminating with an ultimate move, which plays out like a short little cutscene and dishes out a lot of damage to whatever enemy you're battling. Each character gets a couple of main attacks that you'll be able to use. Some can hit multiple targets, as well as the combos themselves can eventually hit bigger and bigger ranges, so you may do a basic move that only hits one character, but once you get the combo up to 3 or 4, you can end up hitting more characters that are around the battlefield. Knowing where the best place to put your character for these big combos will definitely end up helping out. You also usually get a few status element-like things as well to boost stuff like attack and defense or healing different characters. When a character defeats an enemy or even does damage to them, they will earn experience, and at the end of each battle, the first time you complete it, you will earn a bunch of bonus experience to level up characters in a more mass quantity. I never really found a time where I had to grind out levels by any means, since the automatic level gains at the end of the different battles ended up being enough usually to help me win the next fight. I actually recommend, if you're playing through the game for the first time and you're a veteran of tactic RPGs, you may want to set the difficulty automatically to hard just to make things a little bit more interesting. For defeating enemies at the end of battles, you will also earn BP, or battle points, that again can be spent on each individual character in order to increase their health, attack, defense, and speed stats. You can redo any of the battles in the game once you complete them as many times as you want to be able to grind out or overpower your characters, or just trying to get some of the other characters who aren't quite as high level up to wherever your current main team is. Unfortunately, eventually you will earn enough experience and enough levels where attacking the weaker enemies won't net you any experience, but I never found myself getting to that point. The game's story and progression is very linear. There's not dialogue choices that will end up affecting an ending or anything like that. There's no dating sim-like elements. There are some edgy and fan service-like moments throughout, though there is no nudity or overall adult themes for the most part. While going through the story, you will sometimes have to pick a location to travel to next, but you will have to do all of them in order to advance the story, so while you have a little bit of choice, there really isn't any choice. A bulk of the game is the visual novel aspect. I'd say 75% of it is, where 25% of the story is the actual tactical battles. What's cool though is once you complete the main game, you unlock the Dream Arena battles. Here you just have a series of fights with no story elements told between, though some battles end up having little elements in them, such as protecting a certain character or having to defeat a more overpowered boss-like character in these Dream levels, but these are much more difficult, challenging fights and ended up being one of the most enjoyable parts of the game for me. From the technical side of things, though, the game did run smoothly. I didn't run any major glitching, crashing, or slowdown of any sort. Utawarerumono Mask of Deception is available now on PS4 for $49.99 and Vita for $39.99, and it does feature a full trophy list including a Platinum. Overall, this was my first exposure to the series, and I did enjoy it. I liked a lot of the characters throughout the course of it. It's one of those series that I knew existed for a while, but just never got around to checking out, so I'm thrilled that they brought it over here to North America. Keep in mind, this is a visual novel that also has the strategy RPG part to it, so don't go in thinking it's going to be a really hardcore tactic RPG. I enjoyed that aspect of the game for sure, but it's not going to be my favorite tactic RPG by any means. With everything said, I'm going to be giving Utawarerumono Mask of Deception a 7 out of 10. But anyway guys, that's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course I hope you enjoyed.